Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Wait.
It's Monday, August 10th, 2026. Coming up with Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. I'm here in Atlanta, where this week the National Association of Black Journalists will be holding its 51st annual convention. I'm going to talk about what is happening with black conventions when it comes to corporate support, and how black folks are going to have to recognize that we're going to have to fund our own institutions in this anti-DEI world. Also, Donald Trump gets his personal attorney as Attorney General as Louisiana Senator John Kennedy becomes the key vote that puts Todd Blanche over the top. Back to school for kids. What must parents do when it comes to their health, especially with Donald Trump signing an executive order limiting new vaccinations for kids? We'll talk about that on today's show. A white woman kills her black boyfriend. She may only serve 2 years in prison. We'll tell you what the state attorney general had to say. Lots to break down. It is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time. And it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Donald Trump's personal attorney is now the U.S. Attorney General after a 50-49 vote in the United States Senate. Todd Blanche has been sworn in after being confirmed late over the weekend. Of course, his nomination was in peril because of the $1.8 billion slush fund that Donald Trump wanted created for the thugs on January 6th, where you had Senators Tom Tillis and John Cornyn who objected to that, as well as the tax get out of jail free deal that Blanche negotiated. But the key vote was Louisiana Senator John Kennedy, who supported him. He gave an absolutely stupendous and utterly ridiculous reasoning on CBS over the weekend as to why he supported Blanche's nomination. But again, this is what happens when Donald Trump wants to get his way. The Republican Party is a gutless party. They're unwilling to stand up to the thug in chief. And so that's exactly what we see. He is going to do Trump's bidding. Let's be perfectly clear. This is not going to be, I don't care what Kennedy has to say, this is not going to be a Department of Justice where they're going to resist what Donald Trump wants them to do. He knows he can order them to do whatever he wants, and they're going to do it, which is why this midterm election is so important. People are going to the polls tomorrow in Wisconsin to choose their gubernatorial nominee as well. So that's going to be a critical race. We saw Michigan last week. We saw Tennessee last week. And the only way we can stop these thuggish actions is if people actually maximize their power, flood the polls in the critical states. Democrats are looking at states such as, I'm here in Georgia, holding the seat in Georgia, Senator John Ossoff holding the seat in Michigan. Senator Gary Peters is retiring. Abdul Al-Said is going to be the Democratic nominee. Also, they want to win the seat in North Carolina. The former North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper is running for that. He's up anywhere from 9 to 12 points against Michael Whaley. Then, of course, you have Maine, where Democrats want to take out Senator Susan Collins. You have Senator Joni Ernst in Iowa, who is not running for re-election. You also have Mayor Patola, former congresswoman, who is leading the polls in Alaska. Plus, you've got State Senator James Tallarico in a tight battle against the grossly corrupt Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who's the Republican nominee. And so if that flips, if the Senate flips, then you would not have the same vote for a Todd Blanche for Attorney General. Let's bring in my panel, Dr. Amakongo, Dr. Amakongo, to being a senior professor of lecture school of international service, American University. He is the author of the book Lies About Black People: How to Combat Racists. Dr. Zachary Kirk, he's an educator and content creator out of Atlanta, Georgia. Glad to have him on the show as well. Let's get right into it, folks, to really understand. And I'm going to start with you, Zachary. Again, you're in Georgia. I'm sitting here in Atlanta right now. And we really need people to understand that if the Senate changes hands, and Speaker Mike Johnson's already said it, the Trump agenda is stopped. Now, he still has the executive power. The reality is, if Democrats control the Senate and or the House, it completely shuts down the MAGA agenda.
And that's exactly what Americans have to. People, look, especially to my black people, because that's who I talk to, that's who I care about, that's my community. That's why I'm right here on Roland Martin, because that's his community. Those are the people, that's who he serves, that's who he works for every single day. Listen, we can't expect for massive change to happen as long as the Trump administration remains in the White House or any Republican administration thereafter. We have to get a Democrat in the White House. But in order to stop the bleeding, not to begin the healing, but to stop the bleeding, Democrats must take control of the House and the Senate. What you see online every single day are people fighting about distractions and nonsense. DSA this, liberals that, progressives this, black voters that. We have got to come together and support the Democratic candidates, whoever he or she may be, for Senate, so that we regain control and just simply stop the Trump agenda from moving forward. Todd Blanche as Attorney General is an absolute American nightmare. This is a man who has protected the wealthy, the rich, these politicians, the people involved in the Epstein's files. This is a man who has sued his own government for about taxes and benefits to the Trump family and all of these things that he's done, anti-weaponization funds for January 6th rioters. All of these things this man's been involved in, and if you think that he is going to be the Attorney General that's going to get justice for people like Nolan Xavier Wells, for people, you're insane. You're crazy. It's not going to happen. We need justice for the black lives that are still being lost at record rates. We need investigations into black children being hung from trees, but you're not going to get it from the Trump Department of Justice, especially with someone like Todd Blanche at the helm. But we would move closer to that if we had a Democratic-controlled House and a Democratic-controlled Senate. And yes, black people, I want to say clearly, this is the most consequential election of your lifetime, because when you're black in America, every single fucking election is the most consequential election of your lifetime.
The thing that, for me, Ome Congo, you have these people you're caping for Dems. And I keep saying, y'all, this is very simple. There are two delivery systems. And the reality is, right now, right-wing MAGA controls the House, controls the Senate, controls the White House. And so if you don't like the attacks on black people, if you do not like what has happened with temporary protected status being repealed for Haitian immigrants, if you do not like the attacks on black health care grants, if you do not like the attacks on black civil rights, if you do not like the attacks when it comes, or as Zachary said, if you don't like the fact that if a black person is shot and killed or found murdered, you're not going to get any justice at all from Donald Trump's Department of Justice. You can't call on the Civil Rights Division. They're so preoccupied with so-called discrimination against white people at Harvard, Yale, and Columbia. And so people need to understand what is going on here. They need to understand this is a massive anti-black agenda. This is an agenda we're going to talk about a little bit later, where Trump is signing an executive order limiting and decreasing the number of children who are getting vaccines. And we've already seen in Texas and Florida where you've seen an explosion of measles because of these idiots who are in control. And so you truly have nutcases who are running the federal government and they have to be stopped. They can only be stopped at the ballot box.
Well, going off of your last point as it relates to health, I saw a story where a woman went to get treatment for two of her children, a black woman, with sickle cell, only to find out that the research for sickle cell, the funding for sickle cell research has ended. Who does sickle cell affect most? Primarily black people. So, you can continually run down the list of the various challenges that this administration is posing. And look, really at the end of the day, when it comes to talking about an agenda, how in the world do we expect to move forward in any way, shape, or form with keeping these individuals in office? What bothers me, Roland, is that it seems like people from Republicans all the way to freaking, Hassan Piker on the other side understand the power of the black vote. You're starting to hear them all talking about, oh, Democrats take the black vote for granted and you have to do this. They're sounding the same, right? And it's like you see Governor Abbott in Texas talking about black voters and why they won't go for Tallarico. They understand our power. It seems like those of us who are not politically inclined, the ones who are staying home, we are the ones who are not understanding our power. And for those people who are talking about, I'm going to sit out because I don't like how Tallarico did Crockett, or I'm going to sit out because my candidate didn't win in this particular space, you're going to sit out 2 years, 6 years. Trump has already made it clear that he expected the last election to be the last election. And we already know what shenanigans they have planned going forward. You were talking to the sister who's running in Texas last week for county judge, and she was talking about all the precincts that are being destroyed. So we already know that the elections may be quote unquote free, but they're not set up to be fair. And so if they're not set up to be fair, that means they're being set up against us. They're closing black precincts. They're closing precincts in Latino areas in the world. What more do you need to get off your butt and get to the polls, to get off your butt and support the candidates who are going to push your agenda forward in some way, shape, or form? Change doesn't happen overnight. Freedom is not an event. It's a process. And if people really want to move forward towards making some progress, you have to vote in these midterms. You have to overwhelmingly vote. Yeah, it sucks that the standard for Republicans is so low, but the standard for Democrats is so high in terms of we have to always overflow the ballot box, but that's what we have to do. And what more do you need? Look at the unemployment rate with black people. What more do you need as it relates to getting off your behind and getting to the polls? Stop all this lesser of two evil stuff. This guy is coming for every single aspect of black empowerment, which we talk about here every night.
Zachary, there was a report that dropped sort of over the weekend. We're going to try to get these folks on the show that showed some 600,000 black women who lost their jobs in 2025. Same thing, upwards of 400,000 to 600,000 black men as well. To Ome Congo's point, we've seen the black unemployment rate go up. Again, I need people to understand this is a reality. I was on the plane flying to LA on late Friday night, and there was a gentleman I was sitting next to. He was from India. He was an engineer, and we were talking, and I was sharing with him real data. I was sharing with him the fact that if you look at the data, and this is y'all, this ain't you coming up with it. No, it's undeniable. The data shows that since 1989, I'm going to pull it up, and so what I'm going to do, I'm also going to place this in our chat, and so they can pull it up. Since 1989, it is estimated that 96% of the jobs that have been created, 96%, since 1989, 96% of the jobs created in the United States have come under Democratic presidents. 96%. The chart shows massive job losses under Republican presidents. And so this notion that somehow Republicans are for the working class and great on the economy is a lie.
It's an absolute lie, and the statistics continuously bear it out. And what we have seen under this president is continuous attacks and assaults on the Black community by design, by purpose, laid out, and the suffering only increases. And what's unfortunate is that we don't have enough Black people realizing that. There's always online people saying we're not mad enough. I don't know about them. I don't know about the rest of America, but I'm talking about Black America. We are not angry enough because we don't realize what we had and how much we lose every single day because mainstream media isn't giving that to you. I watched today in the background while I'm working because I had a full day at home catching up on my office work, and I watched in the background CNN and MSNBC going from station to station, and all they wanted to talk about were Democrats and what they perceive as Democratic problems and issues that we have. Not once were they talking about the issues that are impacting Democrats from this Republican leadership. And I'm so glad, Roland, that you just gave us that number. 96% of the job gains and increases come under Democratic leaderships. How can we, as Black America, not afford to have a Democrat in the White House every single time? We would love to have choices in this country. We deserve to have choices in this country. But when we have a Republican in office like Donald Trump, when we have Republicans who control the House of Representatives like Mike Johnson, when we have Republicans in control like John Thune of the Senate, we are not going to be able to have choices. All we're going to have are continuous losses like what we have the 600,000 Black women that don't have jobs. And Black men, don't think for a moment that you're immune to this because in actuality, your unemployment has increased even more at a more rapid rate than Black women. It's just that more Black men were employed. I think currently we're at what, Black unemployment is averaged 7.6%. That's what we are currently. That's where we are right now. That number is abysmal, but no one's talking about it except independent journalists like Roland and those of us who care about the Black community and Black media.
So I'm going to go to a break, and we come back. I'm going to play for y'all, and I just want y'all to understand how Fox News pushes lies, pushes propaganda, pushes total BS. And so you'll understand why it's important to have factual information when we're talking about what is happening economically in this country. Going to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games. And people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know Black men so well? What they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show. Nope. Brothers that are doing work in local communities with Black men for Black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. Nope. What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
Hello, we're the Critter Fixers. I'm Dr. Bernard Hodges.
And I'm Dr. Terrence Ferguson.
And you're tuned in to Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, I often see insane stuff on Fox News and Fox Business. These people are flat out liars. They are habitual liars. They do the exact same thing that Donald Trump does every single day. So there was a conversation this weekend, and their so-called top business anchor, Maria Bartiromo, who is hardcore, deranged, nutcase, insane MAGA. This is what this fool had to say about the economy in 2026.
So, Maria, let me pick up on this past jobs report quickly and get your assessment on the fact that, you know, President Trump is constantly talking about record markets. You mentioned there, rising wages, and what we are still seeing, fewer layoffs, but yet this week already we're going to be hearing from Democrats about how horrible the economy is. So
yeah, but that's just propaganda. I mean, look, things are going well, and I think we all feel it, right, Griff? I mean, look at where we are right now. You've got job creation, you've got economic growth, you've got $18 trillion of new investment. The president's main priority has been to put America first and get the supply chains back to America so that we're not reliant on, you know, Asia for semiconductor chips, which we need for defense, or, you know, China for pharmaceutical components. So that in and of itself is such a positive for the economy and for growth. So really, everyone's going to say what they want to say in a campaign season, and I expect the campaign season is, you know, ramping up right now. But when you actually look at what's going on, things feel pretty good. I've spoken with a number of CEOs who tell me that business is up strongly, and it has to do partly with the big beautiful bill. So okay, I mean, look, all those expensing options. Yes, sorry.
So why do no worries. So why do you? I hear you, and that's all great news, and that's what Americans need to hear. But then, what do you think is leading to the disconnect in maybe some voters and Americans not feeling that way? So why is that, do you think?
I think it's messaging. I really do. I mean, the Republicans need to do a better job in telling their story, in communicating what the big beautiful bill has done for earnings. Do you know we're...
I want y'all to understand that was what we affectionately call a load of bullshit. Okay? Oh, I talked to all of these CEOs. Well, if you look at average CEO pay in America, of course the CEOs think things are going great. Of course they think things are going amazing because of the stock market. But that's not reality. It simply is not. And so she lied about job creation. In the last 3 months, there's been a loss of 100,000+ jobs. In the last month, the Trump people have touted, oh, we've seen an increase of 5,000 manufacturing jobs. Yet since Donald Trump was sworn in January 2025, the American economy has seen a loss of 75,000 manufacturing jobs. Y'all, they are lying. They are gaslighting. Simple as that. We have seen negative job growth. In fact, I'm about to show y'all a series of graphics so you can understand, you can see with your own eyes. If you're listening, please pull up the video so you can understand. Okay, roll the first graphic, y'all. Okay, I told you earlier, Democratic presidents have created 96% of new jobs since 1989. Under Bush 1, Bush 2, and Donald Trump, there's been a net of 1.9 million jobs in the United States. Under Presidents Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, there's been a net increase of 49 million jobs. Those are not my numbers. It's the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, here was another graphic here. Jobs created by president. There was not a single month in the 4 years of President Joe Biden where we saw negative job loss. You see the chart right here. Reagan had an increase. George W. Bush, increase. Clinton, increase. small increase for George W. Bush. You see Obama. Donald Trump's first 4 years had a negative loss of jobs, and you see the explosive number under Biden. And even if you remove the COVID rebound jobs, Biden crushes Trump. Next graphic. Here you go again. Average jobs by president. Biden, positive blue. Trump, negative. That's first term. Biden compared to second term. To the right, Biden is, you see right there, overall and excluding COVID. So on the left was how Biden performed overall. He had huge numbers. Trump was negative. You see, excluding COVID bounce back jobs, you see Biden's job numbers, and you see how low Trump's job numbers are. Next graphic. Again, jobs created by president average per month. Trump, negative job growth. Biden, positive job growth. Next one. Okay, y'all, where's the video? Guys, look at this video. Look, the first, y'all, play the video again. You're watching the first 33 months in office. You see Reagan, you see Bush 1, you see Bush 2, you see Trump, boom. So what we witnessed, Ome Congo, we witnessed Donald Trump stand up, oh my God, elect me, Biden is horrible, inflation is up, everything is going to be better. Everything is going to be fantastic. I'm going to cut energy prices. I'm going to cut food prices. I'm going to cut all these things, and he hasn't done it. And Biden got penalized. Biden got penalized because inflation was up. Well, again, y'all, I'm not making this up. I'm telling you what bankers, Federal Reserve, and others actually said. And that is, even though we saw an increase in inflation, you had Larry Summers and others who said, oh, there was too much money in the system, when 70% of the American economy is based upon consumer spending. If you don't spend money, the American economy dies. So they put all that money into the system so folks can pay rent, pay car notes, buy food, things along those lines. So the fact of the matter is, Donald Trump and MAGA, they have flat out destroyed the economy. They issued the tax cuts. You saw Maria Bartiromo touting, oh, the big, beautiful bill, which was not about regular, ordinary people, and it has not had an impact. The so-called big, beautiful bill, the war in Iran. You throw in Trump's schizophrenic tariffs, and what do you have? An economy in tatters.
Yep. All he had to do was do nothing, and the economy would have still continued to grow. We have to be mindful of the fact that, you know, if inflation was lower when Biden left than it is under Trump. And so I remember last week when you had Morgan Harper on, and you were showing somebody else talking on Fox, and they were actually having a different stat showing decreases in jobs as they were saying everything was great. Like, Bartiromo can't help herself. The only thing she was right about was that she was talking to CEOs and they are doing great. Everybody else, I mean, you could talk about the price of food, like beef is up 100% since 6 years ago. Everything is on the rise. And so whoever they are talking to, they're just gassing people up. And you see Kevin Hassett on television on a regular basis had a nerve, to talk about, because the World Cup ended, these are the reasons why the numbers were down. American people, you need to start waking up to the fact that you are being lied to. If you are a Fox watcher, News Nation, all of these guys, they are gassing your head up, but you can see right in front of you. You see what's happening with back to school supplies if you're going shopping. You see what's happening if you're going grocery shopping. You see what's happening with your medical bills. And there's more cuts that are going to be happening as relates to the medical, what's happening with our health industry and healthcare with Trump's bill. And the last thing I want to say about Biden versus Trump is that I get so annoyed when people say, just like Biden, Trump is failing to sell people on his economic message. And, he's making promises and all of this other type of stuff. The difference between Biden and Trump was that even though Biden was poor at marketing what they were doing to help fix the economy, he was actually working on policies to make the lives of Americans better. Donald Trump has none of that. Every single policy he has implemented has made the average American worker worse off. And I wish more of these media outlets will talk about that, because they're so caught up in this whataboutism when they should be sticking to the facts that you just laid out right here. And if anybody actually cares about the facts, it's 100% clear that this man has destroyed the economy, and we're not even done yet, Roland. We still got, 2+ years left for this individual? How much time left? It's only going to get worse before it gets better.
Zachary, Donald Trump has literally spent $4 billion of taxpayer money to stop companies from doing wind and solar projects that are designed to lower energy costs. It has cost $4 billion to stop them. There was a wind farm on the East Coast that was almost completed. He shut it down and had to pay the company. What the hell was that about? I just need people to understand. And I need people to get out of this nonsense that, oh my God, you're sitting here, you're just singing the praises of the Democrats. I'm giving you data. I'm giving you what are undeniable facts. And that is what we continue to see. We continue to see Republicans and their policies. They are about enriching corporations and not workers. They are about enriching people at the top and not people at the bottom and the middle. That is the reality. The so-called big, beautiful bill is having a negative impact on black families when it comes to Pell Grants, when it comes to Parent Plus loans. They're capping of the numbers as well. So people need to understand what is happening here, and it's undeniable. And I need people to stop being asleep. I need people to stop listening to the lies being told and understand that what we're trying to feed you is real, credible information so you can make the choices. And I believe that the reason an Al Sayed is won in Michigan, the reason a Hong is leading in Wisconsin, the reason that you're seeing other folks who are progressives win is because they are specifically attacking billionaires who are getting rich. They are attacking these major corporations who are not paying taxes. Zachary, it was quite interesting just the other day. And I need people to understand this here. I was looking at something on Instagram. And there was this guy, he had $12 million. And what he did was he put the $12 million in a trust. And what he then did was, and this is what Elon Musk did. And I need everybody listening and watching, I need y'all to understand how the rich operate. Okay? Y'all watching and listening, you take salaries. They don't take salaries. You know why? Because your salary is taxed. Your salary is taxed. What they do is they put their money in trusts. Or they take a small amount of money, they get stocks. They then go to a bank, take out loans against their trust or their stocks, and then they're able to not only pay the loans back, they get to write off the loans. Then the story I read, what this guy did was by putting the $12 million in a trust, living off of the loans that he took out, and the collateral was the trust, allowed for him to live a lavish life and then give the $12 million to his kids tax-free. That's how the rich live. That's why the rich don't want to give up. They don't want to give up those tax breaks. They don't want to give up. They don't want to see a capital gains tax. because that's how they live. And so when you hear effective tax rate, well, if you're taking virtually no salary, but your money is coming in stocks, guess what? You're like, oh, I paid my taxes. Nah, that's when Warren Buffett says his tax rate is lower than that of his secretary. That's how the rich play the game, and the rich want to keep that system in place. That's why they are against an estate tax. That's why they're fighting like hell, Zachary, against the wealth tax in California and New York City.
And that's why we have to vote blue no matter who, even if it's a matter of holding our breath to do so, because we as black voters are voting against harm reduction. We're voting against things that are going to hurt us. For anyone out there who are saying that anyone's capping for the Democrats, I'm going to absolutely cap for the people that my ancestors capped for, because that is what has moved us forward. Until we are in a place to where we don't have to be that way. I want to say something that's a little bit crude, but absolutely true. We are shitting our lives away. We go to eat a salad and the lettuce has parasites. We go to fry an egg and it has salmonella. These are the basics of American foundational nutrition, and we are at grave risk. We have gotten sicker, more unhealthy, and broker under the Trump administration than what we've been in a lifetime of living in this country. For me personally, that's where we are. And then not only are we shitting our life away, we can't afford to wipe, because we can't afford to buy toilet paper. 3.5% is a consumer price increase over the course of 1 month from May to June. I don't have it for July yet. It's not out. But that's what we are in terms of inflation. Everything is higher and it's only going up. But then you have someone like Maria telling you that that's not true, that that's not the case, that we're in better shape and in a better place than we've ever been. We're not in a better place. We're in a much worse place across the board, and we are living it. You don't have to listen to the pundits to believe it. You can turn off the TV, you can log off social media, and just simply walk through the aisles of your grocery store to see how much we are hurting as a people under the Trump administration. And if that's not the clearest motivation to get up and get out and work hard for the next 90 days between now and November 3rd, I don't know what else I could say. I don't know what else could be said.
I'm going to say something right now, and I really want people to listen to what I'm about to say. I really, really want you to listen to what I'm about to say. When Trump won, I'm sending a text. I was posting our stuff. When Trump won, there were a number of people who said, man, I'm leaving the country. Rosie O'Donnell, I think she moved to Ireland. I saw some folks who moved to Paris. I know some black people who moved to Costa Rica, Portugal, Ghana, and some other places. And let me be clear. And not because of this show, but because I don't take a salary from this show. But because of my speeches and my books and what I did before I launched this show, I could pack up and go to another country. When I was vacationing in Jamaica, I ran into a black woman who had moved there and been living there 8 years, and she said, "Oh, I just can't deal with what's happening in America." But that is not an option for most black people. In the last month, I've been watching a lot of black people post on social media going to Cannes. I'm not hating. That's in the south of France. And I've seen a lot of videos of people having a grand time, posting, being on the beach and shopping, great parties, and restaurants, and villas. Right now, Your social media is likely flooded with black people who are having a grand time in Martha's Vineyard. Folks who are renting homes for $10,000, $20,000 for the week. Rental cars costing $2,000, $3,000 a week. There are parties and soirees and fundraisers and all of these different events. And I've been to Martha's Vineyard 3 or 4 times. I have not been there probably in, probably 10, 12, maybe 15 years. And again, I get it. I get it. And so if you look at that, you'll conclude, oh, hey, oh my God, things are going amazing for black people. No. Things are good for an extremely small number of black people. But let me be perfectly frank. There are a lot of black people who normally would be at Martha's Vineyard this year or this month who ain't there because they got laid off from their corporate jobs. If you don't believe me, I want you to call the Executive Leadership Council. And I want you to ask the EOC. This is the black corporate organization. I want you to ask the EOC how many of their members have been laid off in the past 18 months. I want you to ask the question, how many of them are now have consulting companies because they can't get hired somewhere else? The people who had 2 and 3 and 4 and 500 and 600 and 700,000, 800,000 $1 million jobs. How many black people were general counsels of corporations and they got whacked in the past 18 months? How many people were chief diversity officers or chief global diversity officers or head of DEI? How many of those people have lost their jobs? They've got kids in school. They've got big mortgages. They're carrying heavy, heavy expenses. The reason I'm saying this is that we cannot allow the image of a small fraction of our people living it up at Cannes, 31,000 who registered at InvestFest over the weekend, going to Martha's Vineyard, to obscure the reality that most of our community has been economically harmed by the policies of this administration. And what you should be asking yourself is, how many shows out there, how many podcasts out there that you're watching, that you're consuming, are telling you exactly how we are being harmed economically? I don't mind if people are looking at sports and entertainment, and health and beauty and all that sort of stuff. But I'm telling y'all right now, what we are watching is an economic calamity that is being thrust upon black America. What we are witnessing is a complete effort to defund black America. And we cannot for a moment be silent about what is going on, because the economic policies that are being established by the federal government is going to the states, is going to the counties, is going to the cities, is going to the school boards, and what it's doing, it is choking us off from contracts and from opportunities. And so when people say, I'm not voting, I want you to understand that voting is not, I will say this again for the people who somehow just think, I've never said it before. I've long said, voting is not the be-all to end-all, but voting is a part of the weaponry that we must be using in order to defend our community. And if we don't, I am warning you right now at 7:02 Eastern on this Monday, August 10th, 2026, that if Donald Trump and MAGA is in control of this federal apparatus, all of it, for another 2 years, you are going to see a tsunami across this country, especially black people. What I am saying is not because some simple Simons will go, oh, there you go again, you're trying to scare us. No, I'm simply trying to be truthful. And if you have to be scared straight, so be it. But I'm telling you right now, it's happening. It's going to happen. No, it's happening. And they're executing their agenda. They're not going to stop executing their agenda until they're finished. And if we allow them to execute their agenda, almost 1,000 pages in Project 2025, we will be finished. And I need every baby boomer, Gen Xer, Millennial, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha to understand that if you don't pay attention to what's happening now, if you don't understand that this is Jim Crow 2.0, well, then you better go pick up a book and you better read what happened with black people in the 12 years after Reconstruction. And you better realize the attacks that were happening on black people. But you also better understand, which we'll talk about coming up next, you also better understand that in this moment, on this day, at this hour, at this minute, and at this second, this is the moment where this generation is going to have to accept the call to action that previous generations accepted. And if you keep talking mythically about Black Wall Street and how amazing it was, I want you to remember that Black Wall Street was created by black people who spent money with black people, who built businesses with black people, which means you're going to have to answer the question, are you one of those people who talk about spending money with black people and doing business with black people? Or are you one of those people who actually do it? It's gut check time for Black America. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Brain the Funk fan club. If you want to contribute, please do so by Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. That's for checks and money orders as well. That's for credit cards, I'm sorry. Checks and money order. Send to, make it out to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know black men so well? What they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show. Nope. Brothers that are doing work in local communities with black men for black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. Nope. What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
30 years ago, Tupac Shakur was shot and killed in Las Vegas, and this week a man goes on trial for his murder. Jury selection begins today in Las Vegas for 63-year-old Dwayne Keith D. Davis, who has pled not guilty to a murder charge in connection with Shakur's 1996 death. Prosecutors accused Davis of orchestrating the drive-by shooting following a fight involving Shakur and Davis's nephew, Orlando Anderson, at the MGM Grand Hotel. Prosecutors say Davis was inside the white Cadillac used in the shooting and provided the gun in the attack. Shakur was shot 4 times on September 7, 1996, while riding in a car with Death Row Records founder Suge Knight. He died 6 days later. He was 25 years old. Davis was arrested and charged in 2023 after years of publicly discussing his involvement in the shooting, including in interviews and in his 2019 memoir, which he now disavows. His defense maintains he is not responsible for the killing. The trial is expected to last about 5 weeks. I don't understand, Ome Congo. So you spend lots of time talking about how you were involved in the murder. you write a book claiming you were involved in the murder, but now you disavow your own words.
Yeah, I don't get it. And if I'm correct, I believe he's the only person who's still alive who was in the car that particular night. And there's been so much out there about him and his involvement in this, and the fact that it's taken 30 years, I think is absolutely ridiculous. But hey, the time is always right to do right, as it says. I mean, it's Tupac's absence from this world, I think it still, affects us on many levels, those of us who lived through that particular time period. But the fact that he can just get out there and brag about it and think that he was just going to get away scot-free, it absolutely makes no sense whatsoever. How do you, disavow your own memoir? Like, how do you do that? So, look, we don't know what's going to happen with this trial. Anything could happen. There could be something that gets botched and so on and so forth. But I hope that, those who love Tupac, those of us who respected him and his family as well, get the justice that this man deserved. Because, the older we get, we realize that 25 on some level is like a kid, you know what I'm saying? But this is just way too long a wait. But I'm really hoping that some justice is finally done.
And obviously, for a generation of us, look, I was 27 years old when this happened. Zachary, a lot of people were obviously shocked by this, his murder, followed a year later by Biggie's murder, the whole East Coast, West Coast. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Again, I don't know how you brag about your involvement in a murder. You write a book and you brag about it, but now you say, oh, no, that wasn't me. I was just joking.
It is exactly as just stated. Why did this take so long? This man has been profiting off of his own self-admitted wrongdoing and crimes and murder, taking away one of the most prolific and talented young artists of a generation from the American people. And now he wants to backtrack. It makes no sense. I don't think it's a matter of this man serving justice. It's a matter of why does his justice take so long? And it's heartbreaking for those of us who are Tupac fans that his mother is no longer here on this earth to be able to witness the justice for her son that was taken away from her. But luckily, there are fans who are still here. And those of us who love Tupac, who appreciate his music, who still listen to Tupac, and who have been influenced by him and continue to be influenced, will maybe have a moment to finally get that justice and celebrate this with him being the one who's still left behind. And the rest, I'm assuming, suffering the consequences of their actions in hell.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about this case out of Florida where a white OnlyFans model accepted a plea deal in the stabbing death of her black boyfriend. 30-year-old Courtney Clenny was facing 30 years in prison after being charged with second-degree murder for the stabbing death of her 27-year-old boyfriend, Christian Obosele. Clenny had claimed she killed him in self-defense during an argument in their condo in April 2022. She has now agreed to a lesser charge of manslaughter, spending 6 years in prison with time already served, which is 4 years, followed by 5 years of probation, along with undergoing a mental health evaluation and treatment. She has remained in jail since her arrest in 2022, again, leaving her with about 2 years left in her sentence. Miami-Dade State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Rondo, one of Clenny's, first of all, the Miami-Dade State Attorney released a statement after the hearing. With this plea agreement, Christian Obosele's family finally heard what they long sought. Courtney Clenny accepted full responsibility for his death. This plea was reached in full consultation and approval of Christian's family. The assistant state attorneys handling this case have remained focused on the core evidence that Clenny stabbed Christian Obosele as part of a pattern of escalating violence toward him. While nothing can heal the wounds caused on that day in April, I hope today's guilty plea brings his family a measure of justice too long denied. What was interesting about this also, Zachary, is that there were a lot of black people who were lighting up this brother because he had made a lot of anti-black comments, especially about black women, and he ends up getting stabbed out and murdered by a white woman.
May he rest in his preference. But Roland, to every black person out there who was saying things like that,
damn, you said may he rest in his preference. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, may he rest in his preference. But this isn't about him. This is about how the justice system has given permission to take away any black life without appropriate consequences. And it's sending a message to the broader community out there of people who want to do us harm and who want to see us dead, that they can do so because black life has no value in Trump's America. That is a dire consequence of the 2024 election. And if you're wondering why I would say that, look no further than Nolan Xavier Wells as we're fighting for justice. Look no further than Daniel Irving in Dallas as we're fighting for justice. Look no further than Tyler Smith in Kentucky as we're fighting for justice. Look no further than Tasia Fortune in Jackson, Mississippi, found hanging from a tree. Look no further than Charlotte, North Carolina, Mecklenburg County, when Juliana Mbumba Nzita was found also hanging from a tree. Black people are not hanging themselves, are not choosing self-harm by hanging from trees. These are bigger issues at play, and I need everyone out there to wake up and realize I don't give a damn who this man wanted. I don't give a damn who this man slept with. He is gone from this earth. That's not relevant to us today, but what is relevant is the fact that we're not getting justice. What is relevant is the fact that this white woman took this man's life, stabbed him in cold blood, and is only going to get 6 years. Only going to get 6 years. We all know someone who is black, who did significantly less harm to anyone, including to themselves, and received a harsher sentence. No justice, no peace, not even in that damn preference.
You know, the thing here, Ome Congo, is that it's one of those things that when you have these plea bargain cases, let's just be honest, a lot of time these prosecutors recognize the difficulty they are going to have in trying a case, trying to actually get a conviction. And so when you do one of these plea bargains, it's really to provide some sort of solace to the family. That's why you heard the state's attorney say that she's admitting guilt, which is what the family wanted to hear.
Yeah, and I'm glad that the family got what they wanted to hear, because in too many instances, as was already mentioned by Zachary, across this country, they get away with these things, using those 5 words, I fear for my life, or something similar to that. And, police have used it. Strangers have used it on the street who have killed other black people. And of course, in situations with relationships as well, we have seen this happen. And so people may not know all of the specifics and the details, but the fact of the matter is, a black life was taken. And in our society, that life being gone, there's no guarantee that any type of justice will be served. And so the family needed this. The family needed some type of closure in some way, shape, or form. Of course, people want to see more. They want to demand more. And, people out there, like you said, talking about, oh, well, he was, parading white women. This is what happened. This isn't about that as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, people need to know in this country that if you take a black life, there should be some type of normal process. There should be some type of investigation. There should be some type of trial. There should be some type of recognition of guilt. And in too many situations, we're seeing people get off scot-free, again, at every tier, relationship-wise, cop-wise, George Zimmerman style-wise, on the streets. And at some point, there has to be some type of message sent to people who are not from our community that this is not going to last forever. And this can maybe be a step in getting people to understand that our lives are going to matter. We're going to continue to push these cases as far as we can. So I'm just happy that the family got some semblance of closure with this, but it's really just sad all around.
Indeed. All right, let me go to a break. We come back. Big election tomorrow in Wisconsin. You've got a DSA candidate, Francesca Hong, on the verge of becoming the Democratic gubernatorial nominee in Wisconsin. It's causing Democrats to freak out, believing that she has no shot at winning the general election in November. We will discuss that. Also, Abdul Al-Said, he is, of course, talking about campaigning with possibly President Barack Obama in Michigan. Also, wait until I show you how Senator Tim Scott answered the question as to why they're using Al-Said's full name as they campaign against him. Yeah, quite interesting. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here in the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games, and people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know black men so well? What they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show. Nope. Brothers that are doing work in local communities with black men for black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. Nope. What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
Farquhar, executive producer of Proud Family.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back. Tomorrow in Wisconsin, Francesca Hong is seeking to become the latest Democratic Social America candidate to win a major party nomination. She's running for governor of Wisconsin. Tony Evers is not running. He has, so what has happened is, first of all, this whole election has been nuts. The lieutenant governor in Wisconsin dropped out of that particular race. Then, of course, you had another candidate who was running, Mandela Barnes, who is so the current lieutenant governor. Let me roll this back. It's hard to keep up, y'all. So the current lieutenant governor of Wisconsin dropped out of the governor's race. Then you had the former lieutenant governor of Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes, ran for the United States Senate, drop out of the race. Then you had Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, who dropped out of the race and got back in the race. Tony Evers endorsed him. And so it's a mess. Hong, though, is based upon polls, is leading by huge numbers. And so what you have now are Democrats saying, oh, there's no way in the world Wisconsin is such a split state that she can win in this particular race. Many of them were saying the same thing in Michigan when Abdul Al-Sayed was running against Congresswoman Haley Stevens. He beat her by about 20,000 or maybe slightly less votes there. He talked over the weekend saying that he's already had a conversation with former President Barack Obama, and he talked about him possibly coming to Michigan to campaign on his behalf.
It was a really warm and inspiring conversation. I got to be honest with you, I never saw myself ever able to run for public office. I literally told former President Bill Clinton that at my college graduation, in which I was the senior speaker and he was the main speaker. And I then watched the next year Barack Hussein Obama run for and win the presidency. I watched him serve with a level of class, a level of elegance that we could only pine for now. So I really enjoyed the conversation. I was grateful for his advice. It was very warm, very inviting. And I know that he knows the critical role that Michigan is going to play in holding Trump accountable, in winning back the Senate, and in building forward the future that we need.
So Republicans are, of course, already trying to do to Al-Sayed what they did to Barack Hussein Obama. by using his full name to scare white voters. CNN was talking to black Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina about the very issue why he was engaged in this.
Your early attack ads against him, you're using his full name in these attack ads, which has gotten some attention. Abdul Rahman Mohammed El Sayed. He goes by Abdul El Sayed. Are you trying to say, hint to voters, he's Muslim?
Not at all. What we're saying what we're only saying to voters is a simple thing. He says he's the most dangerous candidate you can find. He's right. We should trust his words, not ours.
But why not just use his name, Abdul El Sayed, which he goes by?
Well, listen, I go by Timothy Eugene, and so I get called that all the time. Here's what I know with that question. It's about what he stands for. And we're going to focus and bring attention to the fact that not only is he sympathetic for Hamas, not only does he run around with Hassan Pike or someone who said that Americans deserve 9/11, he should be held account for exactly where he stands and what he's for.
So,
Jeffrey, don't nobody call his dumb ass Timothy Jean. I mean, see, this is what is so embarrassing with Tim Scott. You know what white folks have always done, and you doing the same games these white folks play. Wait, call me Timothy Jean. So, you know, they make...
Him much-mouthed and a whole lot worse, but we do not call him any kind of Timothy Eugene. Roland, you're right.
Congo, we know the bullshit. Again, Barack Hussein Obama. Oh, white people. Oh my God, scary Negro. They're doing the exact same thing with Al Sayed.
And the same thing they did with Mamdani as well. And when do you realize it's not going to work? I mean, Obama got elected twice. Mamdani on many levels is crushing it in New York, you know, crime down, so many other services. So when are you going to realize that it's not going to work? I mean, they were connecting him to 9/11 and the like as well. They had the picture of Obama and Michelle Obama, quote unquote, terrorist fist bump. And we're only further away from 9/11 and all of those, the World Trade Center bombing and like all the, even though Oklahoma City bombing, even though that wasn't done by anybody who was Muslim, it was Timothy McVeigh. But this is all they got. They got Islamophobia and they got the Red Scare. So it's Islamophobia and communism and like a combination of all of that. And at some point they're going to, I hope that they don't realize that voters are smarter than this until it's too late. So my thing is, let them keep talking. When he talked about I'm dangerous, he's like, I'm dangerous to Chuck Schumer and the establishment Democrats. And on that note, I'm happy that the establishment Democrats, it's almost like they watch your show, like they've gotten in line. Haley Stevens, and they said, if I lose, I'm going to endure. We're going to support each other because there's a bigger issue out here, and that's the Republicans. So, and I don't believe if El Sayed lost, that like these DSA folks would have came around and support Stevens and the like. So I respect the fact that established Democrats are falling in line because they understand what's going on. And this is all I expect from Republicans because they have nothing but the culture wars, because it's what worked for Trump, but it's not going to work for all of these other Republicans going forward. I hope they realize it when it's too late.
I just sit here and it just look at this crap. All right, let's talk about Wisconsin. Listen, it is an evenly split state. Vice President Kamala Harris only lost it by about 29,000 votes. Congo, your thoughts about Hong? Again, your establishment Democrats are saying, "Oh, God, my God, if she's our nominee, we're guaranteed to lose this state." You buy it?
I don't buy it at all. I think the reason why many of these candidates are on the rise is because they're actually organizing and they're tapping on doors. They're bringing new voters into the fray. And I think that's what really matters. And it's so frustrating when I see these Democrats and these pundits get upset about, a comment she may have made about, let's get rid of Thanksgiving or other things like that. Look at what these Republicans are saying. I mean, you see that interview like Nancy Mace, I don't want Islam in my country. Everybody needs to go home. I mean, they are saying racist things. And not only that, they are engaging in racist, Nazi-esque policies in this country right now. And so to harp on, and they do this with Democrats, they do this with every Democratic candidate. They harp on one or two things that they may have said, which may have been stupid, which may have been ignorant, which may have been disrespectful, but they don't compare it to what these Republicans who are in power are doing now, the way they're stripping Democrats of power. Again, like I said, their racist policies, their xenophobic policies, what they're doing as relates to healthcare. And the people who are supporting Francesca Hong, they are mindful of that. They're not paying attention to her most extreme comments. They are paying attention to her message on affordability and connecting with the regular voter, something that many of these established Democrats have forgot how to do because they've been so focused on getting that corporate money and working with the consulting class who would rather, lose if they don't win their way. And so I think she's tapped into something. And like you said, the other candidates in Wisconsin, it's been a crap show. So I feel like she will win, obviously, tomorrow. And I feel like she is somebody who's viable as a potential governor of Wisconsin because she's going to bring in a different coalition of voters.
Zachary?
Like her. But exactly as Ami Congo said, as someone who is a progressive liberal and who identifies with many of our establishment leaders like Hakeem Jeffries, the highest ranking black man in American government, I am going to back the Democratic candidate. That is what we do. I 100% supported Haley Stevens in the Michigan race as just an individual content creator who cares about Democratic policies because of the elders who I listen to, like Donna Brazile, like Representative Clyburn. And now that she has lost sound handily to El Said, I'm 100% supporting him because that's what we do. And again, no, I'm not a fan of Hong, but she's the best we got left, and that's who we have to go with. And what matters is having a blue person in the seat. Roland, I'm going to be honest and say, yes, I am worried about the governorship of Wisconsin because of what we will see in 2028. People, if a Republican sits in that seat with the way that the Trump administration wants to finagle elections, some would even say steal elections, and you have a Trump sycophant in that seat, you have a Trump Lewis in that seat. If he calls up and says, I just need you to find me 11,000 and something other votes, the way that he did to the Secretary of State in Georgia, and to think they're going to toe the line and do what's right for democracy, I have no faith in that. I have no faith in any of these Trump Republicans that are in office. So again, to those of you, and many may not be like me, you may not identify with the establishment, you may not be supporting and a fan of Lita Jeffries and the CBC. I am. For those of you like me, hold your breath, cast a vote, vote blue no matter who, and let's push forward to ensure that we have a Democratic majority and a Democratic stronghold, especially in our swing states. Wisconsin is a swing state. They voted for Donald Trump twice. We cannot lose that seat to a Republican in 2026 because we will be in big shit come 2028.
Over the weekend, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was on ABC This Week. She was talking with Jonathan Karl, and wide-ranging topic. And he asked her about her previous comments regarding defund the police. Roll it if y'all have it.
Understanding is that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from a lot of that.
Right, she's moved away from it. And I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's interesting.
And I think that what's important is...
Okay. So this to me is what I don't understand about these folks. Now let's be real clear. Republicans successfully took defund the police. The Republicans seized the narrative, rebranded that, and have been bashing Democrats across the head with a particular phrase. But Zachary, this is how I would answer that question. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, you previously have talked about defund the police, so has Francesca Hong. Do you now disavow that? My response would be, Jonathan, have you been to Baltimore lately? Have you talked to Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott? If you have or you have not, you really should. Because when we talked about defund the police, that's literally what has happened in Baltimore. They didn't dismiss the police. They didn't fire the police. In fact, what Baltimore has done, they have seen a dramatic decrease in crime, even when they have had a police shortage. Jonathan, do you know why? He's going to say no. That's because what Mayor Brandon Scott has done in Baltimore is do exactly what we said when we talked about defund the police. He has shifted the resources to attack crime away from solely hiring more police officers. He's dealt with the issue of crime by attacking the root cause of crime. And that has been through jobs, mental health services. That has been through housing. It's been through social services. So when those of us said defund the police, what we were saying is America cannot maintain a military state and try to reduce crime. The way you reduce crime in American cities is if you present a 360-degree holistic view, and you have to shift the resources away from just putting more cops on the streets. So, Jonathan, what I said then is literally how the mayor in Baltimore has been successful. So you tell me, was it smart of him to do that or not? That is how you answer the question, Zachary.
The lowest amount of homicides on record in a quarter of a century in Baltimore under Mayor Brandon Scott is an excellent example that would have resonated and would have also garnered a lot of support and a lot of love from the Black community had that been said by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Could have also referenced Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago, who has posted some impressive crime-reducing statistics in his city. Our Black mayors are the model and they're leading the way, specifically the two Brandons. And I would have loved to have seen that. I think that's exactly how you handle it. And that's a part of the posturing that we need to see more of our stronger progressive leaders say and highlight those Black candidates as they continue to seek a greater percent of the Black vote. And like when you look at Michigan, and we look at where Black voter turnout was heaviest, it was for Stevens. And again, as Saeed goes forward, it's great. He's going to need that vote to show up. I do want to give him credit and give him a shout out, Roland, because I, of course, watch the show every time it pops on the screen. And if it doesn't, I have to search it. And I've seen your interviews with him, and I've seen the highlights of him, and I applaud him for that. He's done an amazing job of doing something that another senatorial candidate did not do until late. So I applaud him for that. Because it's going to take those Black voters that you bring to the table turning out in large numbers in order for us to get that win, and we need that win come November.
Ome Congo, again, bottom line is you are honest about, and you just simply explain. Yes, there are people who criticize the phrase defund the police, but what we talked about is literally being done, and that's why you've seen a drop in crime all across the country. It's because mayors and cities didn't just take a police point of view, they had to take a holistic point of view to attack crime. And that's what defund the police was always stating.
Yeah, I mean, a few things on this. Yes, Republicans took it and ran. But when you look at it in terms of the term itself, when we were, like you said, we were talking about defund the police, it was about pre-funding the community as it relates to redistribution of resources. And as far as I can tell, that, no major, like, big-time Democrats, like, leadership ran on that platform in a major way. It was more from activists, more from people who are engaged in the community on a different level. So the fact that Republicans try to throw that on Democrats and Democratic leadership, it was slick, but it is what they do. Another thing that we need to be mindful of that you can also flip on is who's defunding the police now? Hey, look at what Trump is doing as it relates to this administration, and look what's happening, with police departments across the country. Yeah, he goes, rah, 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 in terms of we support law enforcement and back to blue, but he's not giving them any real support. And he's stealing from them on a regular basis. So that's another way that conversation can be flipped. And I think also going off of Zachary's point, and this is something you bring up all the time, Roland, I don't see the Democratic Party embracing black mayors. I don't see them embracing the positive stories that they're having across this country. And they're looking at some of the incredible things that, Mamdani's doing in New York as if this is the first time, a non-white mayor has done something like this. And I believe that going forward, particularly when everyone wants to talk about the black vote now and how important it is, why don't you embrace those black mayors and bring them on and talk about the things that they're doing and show what this actually looks like? Because they're not seeking media attention. They're putting their heads down and they are doing the work. And so last thing I will say, I hate this whole idea about woke one is dead. My next book, Trigger Words, is looking at how people use language that they can't even define. These guys can't even define woke. They can't even define, DEI in terms of what they're talking about. What we would call woke is childcare. It's, prison prevention programs. It's making sure that your kid gets the assistance that they need if they have a disability in school. Like the way that people just shun that particular term when all of the policies that we're talking about right now are basically what is called woke, and why some of these Democrats are winning is what some of these people like AOC needs to recognize as well. So drop all that woke one nonsense, because the idea of woke is what's helping bring this country back and giving Democrats wins right now.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back, talk to Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton about getting your kids ready for school, especially with this craziness dealing with vaccinations. And also, remember the white woman who called the cops on a black family at that pool in the Chicago suburb? She needs a new job. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me get personal for a second. My mom had questions about her Medicare, so she called Chapter, a Medicare advisory company, and she texted me right after saying it's a great benefit. It was easy. A real person walked her through the whole thing, and now she understands better what's going on. But it's not just her. A woman in Yonkers wrote in saying the process was so simple, the enrollment was easy, and she was so glad she called. Then there's Marilyn, 90 years old, in Florida, living on Social Security. Her premium climbed every single year north of $400 a month for coverage she could barely afford anymore. So what does she do? She called Chapter. They found her the same top-tier coverage for hundreds of dollars less. 90 years old, and finally somebody in her corner. I hear stories like that again and again from our community. The Medicare system was not built to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans. Yet Chapter's advisors are independent and honest, the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. They're focused on one thing, what actually works for you. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. No games. People who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100 a year. All it takes is 20 minutes. You talk to a real person, and it's completely free help. So call Chapter at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281. That's Chapter.
Let me ask you a question. Why do so many people seem to think they know black men so well? What they think we want, what they think we need. Hell, they even tried to tell us why and how we voted, but never had a conversation with us. Never asked us how we felt, what brings us joy, what makes us angry, what makes us scared. How do we live? That's what this show is about. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. We can speak for ourselves. This will be a show where we bring brothers on that you don't see on every other talk show. Nope. Brothers that are doing work in local communities with black men for black communities. We're going to hear each other and try to understand, so perhaps we can move forward together. No translation, because we don't need anybody speaking for us. Nope. What we need is each other. No translation, right here on the Black Star Network. Check it out.
Melanie Campbell, National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Black Women's Roundtable. And we are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered all day, every day, 24/7, spread the word.
All right, folks, families are getting their kids ready for school, and the idiot in chief today literally signed an executive order shrinking the vaccines kids take. This is what that fool actually said in the Oval Office at the signing.
And I saw this early on, and I've seen proof of it, where they have a vaccination thing, looks like the size of a bottle of soda, poured into a little child's body, and bad things happen in many cases, in too many cases, because this is an explosion. This is an epidemic. So at year one, you should have 5 separate visits for vaccines rather than giving them all in the same day.
Joining us now, Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton, host of Second Opinion with Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton, right here on the Black Star Network. Ebony, good to see you.
Look, it's good to see you again.
How does it feel to be a doctor, somebody who's trained in science, and have to listen to these idiots set public policy that actually is endangering the lives of children?
Right, and at this moment, I'm kind of thinking with two hats, because yes, I'm a doctor, but now I'm a mom. So I'm thinking separately with what dangers are being placed on my 2 baby girls. I have twin girls, right? And to hear someone who I know didn't even help to raise his own children, because any parent that's taking their child to be vaccinated know that there is not a soda bottle size vaccine for even adults. So I don't even know what he's talking about. But the problem is that when we have rhetoric like that, and we have people that are in positions to make policy changes and to try to influence how these vaccine mandates are being passed down to children, it literally costs lives. And then if we take, even just think about the flu. Most people say, oh, it's just the flu. Well, between this flu season, 2025 to 2026, until June of this year, 179 parents had to bury their child because they died from the flu. I will say that again. There are 179 mothers, fathers who were planning to have their kid for Christmas this year, or for Kwanzaa, or for whatever you want to celebrate, and their child is now dead because of the flu. So when we start to mess around and tell people to not get their children vaccinated, when 80% of those kids who died from the flu, 80% were not vaccinated, 50% of the kids had 0 medical history. No, they were completely healthy kids. 50% of them that end up in the hospital are going to die. We're completely normal kids, quote unquote normal, right? And they are now dead. And that's what we have to start really being honest with and real with these numbers, is that number of 179 may sound small until it's your kid. And now we're having a conversation in the hospital that we have nothing else to give them, when if they had a vaccination for whether it's the flu, whether it's measles, you name it, that we could have had a chance to actually save their life, it means all the world. So I just encourage everyone, when you're listening to what Donald Trump says, when you're listening to what RFK Jr. says, understand that they actually vaccinated their children. Let's remember that too. So we can't play politics and threaten the safety net that got us to the position of where we could at one point say, oh, these diseases, we don't have to worry about polio, we don't have to worry about measles. And now all of a sudden we have to again, because people stopped vaccinating their children.
Well, I mean, you bring up measles. I mean, we did not have this issue until these idiots came in and these people started saying, oh, no, don't do this. And we begin to see measles spike across the country, and we begin to see kids dying. But also, here's the other problem, Ebony. You're going to have kids who are in classrooms who are not vaccinated. They're also endangering the other children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not only the other children that are in the classroom. You have to think about the kids that they're going home to who may not be old enough yet to receive a vaccine, right? You may have done what you were supposed to do as a parent and said, hey, I'm keeping my kids vaccinated. But if your child is coming home and you have like I have 13-month-old twin girls,
they couldn't get all their vaccines until a few months ago. And we were waiting and hoping that we can get them to the age of where we can provide some form of protection, because we have lost that elimination status in the United States of America. Measles in the early 2000s, we had the eliminated status. We were covered in America because of the vaccine uptake and the effectiveness and the safetiness of this vaccine. But now, due to this, MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, it should be misinformation about health, amplified, because that's exactly what has happened. And what we see based on that is that now, instead of measles being eliminated and we're barely having any cases, we had 2,000 cases in 2026 alone. And what does that mean? Most time we look at tickers that say, how many people died, and we hope we don't get to deaths. But what we do know is that measles can cause encephalitis, meaning brain injury. It can cause people to go and lose their senses as far as their hearing, their sight. It can cause them to be having what we would consider traumatic brain damage. And what does that do to the developing brain? What does that do to learning disabilities? What does that do to the development of other neurologic diseases later on in life, whether that's Parkinson's or any of these other disease processes that we would say, I would never want that for my kid. But because we allowed them to be infected by something that directly attacks the brain, that child is now going to be vulnerable for the rest of their life, even if they did not die. And so that's what I need parents to kind of think about when we're trying to assess what we're going to do. You got to think about this child not only when they're 5 years old, but what do I want their life to look like when they're 20, 30, 50? Can we get them to be 70, 80 years old? Can I get them through that? And to do that, you have to practice preventative medicine. We can't be trying to catch up to the 8 ball after something has already happened. How do we prevent the attack from day one? That's what we need to concentrate on.
Questions from the panel. Ome Congo, you're first.
Thank you so much for your continued work and advocacy. You talked a lot about vaccines, but one of my questions I have going in, I have a 6th grader, going into school and 2 college students, but what about food safety? When we talk about what's going on with this, salad virus, whatever it's called, and people are talking about dirty water as it relates to data centers and the like. Should we be concerned about the overall quality? I'm thinking primarily in terms of public schools or schools with fewer resources, about the food quality going into schools in the fall as well?
Absolutely. And it's so unfortunate. When we talk about overall health, we do have to think about what this administration has done as far as rolling back regulations on water control, air pollutions. We talk about the pesticides that they're now allowing to be sprayed on to, across farms, across the board. And what does that mean for your health? Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate. I was one of those children. I depended on free lunch from school. I come and I'm very open about the fact that I've seen both sides of the fence. I have lived on both sides of the road. And what does that mean when you're a parent and you say, listen, I want to be able to pack my child lunch. I want to be able to do these things. But the truth of the matter is that unemployment, especially in the Black community, is at an all-time high, right? We know that the access and the ability to go and provide these things for your family is being compromised because I have to choose between, paying for rent, and so we don't be homeless or get evicted, or going to buy, these meals that I can prep. And right now I don't have money to do both. And what I can just tell parents is it is really your best ticket right now is to know that your voice, your vote matters. We talked about in the last segment, I was listening to you all talking about, the different swing states and what we can do. And I would say at this point, across the nation, every state should be a swing state if it's not already blue. You need to get people in there who actually care what your children are drinking, at the lunch table or eating at the lunch table. They care if you're breathing in these toxins and the water is polluted from the data center that's right down the road. I live in Loudoun County. It is the data center capital at this point. And I'm thinking constantly, what is that's going into our water? And how do I show up to the city council? How do I show up and vote for people who will say, you can't pollute our water just because it turns a profit? And that's what we need. We need more people who can actually trust the process and think that their voice actually does matter. Because if we get people in there, we can make a difference. But In the short term, the main thing you can do is go to your schools and ask them, what are you feeding us? How are you making sure and ensuring that our children are being protected as much as possible, and demand answers? Because if they're in those position of powers, they have to tell you something. But that's the only thing I can tell you to do, people, is band together, use your voice, and hold people accountable.
Zachary?
Thank you, Roland. For our parents out there, Dr. Hilton, who look to maybe some medical providers to provide them with, information. I know that I'm from rural Mississippi. And, I have nieces and nephews. I have a nephew who is vaccine age. And I'm going to be honest, I can't trust his white pediatrician to give him appropriate and accurate information, or to inform my sister of appropriate and accurate information in the Trump era, because I'm certain that my nephew's pediatrician, because he's the only one in servicing our small area, is very likely a Trump voter in Mississippi. Where can parents go to for accurate information if we can no longer trust our government or our medical professionals that are local to give us that?
Right. And this is where I'm very grateful for Roland Martin. He put together our show, The Second Opinion, with Dr. Ebony J. Hilton, of where I bring on experts in every field. We have pediatricians nearly every week to come and talk about what are the issues that we may be missing when we go to the doctor's office that parents need to know about. We have Black male pediatricians, we have Black female pediatricians, we have OBGYNs, we have male prostate and urology doctors to come in to talk to the adults too, because there's oftentimes that we have questions in our community of what can I trust at this stage for my child, given all the misinformation that is continuously put online. What can I trust at this point? So the main things that I would say is, if you can find one or two doctors, if you want to send me a DM on Twitter or X, or whatever you want to call it, send me Dr. Ebony J. Hilton. I will put you in direct contact with another pediatrician who can answer your questions specifically, because I do think at this stage, we have to get that trusted voice in order to move forward. But you can't move with doubt. And I'm trying to tell you more as clearly as I can state it. Again, I will go back to those 179 parents who have now buried their child from just the flu. And we say, because all the time people say, oh, it's just the flu, where they are now dead. And I don't want your child to succumb to some disease that we could have prevented that from happening. I want you to see your child become a parent and you become a great-great-grandparent. I want to see that. And in order to do that, at this day and time, we're starting to see executive orders of where we're trying to split vaccines that have been proven to be safe. We want to split them up into multiple visits, as if parents have time off from work to go to 5 and 6 office visits. We can barely have enough time to go to that one. So why are you going to make that 3 separate office visits? It makes no sense unless you're trying to sabotage the process. And you have to think, what benefit comes from sabotaging the process of protecting children? And then think about which children are going to be impacted the most. And those are the people who can't afford to go to 3 separate office visits, right? And we know who those people are. Those are the people who actually have to work for a living to put food on the table. And those come down to Black and brown communities being hit the hardest. That's what we have to start thinking. Read between the lines and protect your family.
All right, folks, you can check out Second Opinion with Dr. Ebony J. Hilton every Thursday right here on the Black Star Network. So please do so. And so we certainly appreciate her joining us, and thank you for the work that she does educating our folks on various health topics every single week right here. Ebony, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Y'all be safe.
All right, then, folks, that is it for us. Let me thank Zachary. Let me thank Ome Congo for being on today's show. Gentlemen, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, I will be in Atlanta all week for the NABJ convention. Of course, I'm Vice President Digital on the board of directors, and so we begin our board meetings tomorrow. Convention starts on Wednesday, and so we'll be bringing you some of that. Look forward to our live streams as well from various events taking place here. And so we appreciate that. Shout out to October London. October London today. We were at Eagles Landing. Give me 1 second. You know what? I don't know why I didn't see it earlier. We were at Eagles Landing, and he had a golf tournament out there today that benefits the arts program in Fulton County. And so we had a great time out there playing golf, supporting the young folks. Some man Chris Tucker out there, comedian Delay, saw them as well. And so what we'll do is we'll play some of that for you tomorrow. And so it was good to see my man October London, the great work that he's doing. Y'all be sure to get his music. And so we had a great time out there. I'll be back in Atlanta August 24th. Chris Tucker has his golf tournament benefiting his family foundation. And so look forward to doing that as well. Folks, that's it for us. Do me a favor. If you want to support this show, our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. Of course, Roland Martin Unfiltered. We're going to be 8 years old in less than a month on September 4th. We've already crossed 50,000 donors. 50,000 donors since we launched this show. And I've said to you before that we cannot do this show without you. We cannot do this show without your support. Your support absolutely matters. And so it is critically important that you stand with us in supporting this show. Again, we don't have millionaires, billionaires cutting us checks and supporting the work that we do. Regular, ordinary people have made this show possible. We appreciate every single one of you for supporting us at every step of the way. Our goal is to give you the kind of information you're not going to get on other platforms all across this country. And so we center African Americans. We know exactly who we serve and why we serve them. So your support is critical. And so please support us in what we do. Checks and money, first of all, if you want to give to us via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. It's also for credit cards. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com in order to give. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Hey, y'all, on that Karen who was at the pool, we're going to, I want to double check a couple of facts. And so that's why I'm not going to run today. I'm going to run tomorrow. So just let y'all know. Again, support us. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TVs. Get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, including our new T-shirt featuring Robert Patillo, the Flamethrower. Y'all need to actually update this graphic and include our America 250 shirts and our new Robert shirt. Also, get our shirt, popular shirt. A lot of people, y'all, were commenting to me over the weekend when I was traveling from LA to Atlanta. I was wearing my shirt, Don't Blame Me, I Voted for the Black Woman. People love seeing that shirt, so be sure to get yours as well. Support our Black-owned companies by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Every product that you see right here in the studio, every single product, these are all Black-owned companies, and please support them. Every single product that you see here, when you buy their products from blackstarnetwork.com, then you also are supporting us as well. So shop blackstarnetwork.com, go to our marketplace. Download the app Fan Base. Follow me at Roland S. Martin as well. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!